How do you propose to make the Attorney General's office more efficient?
Well, one of the things that I suggest is that we go to a zero-based budget. We've got folks in this room even, and I'm one of them, that has been a long-time proponent of zero-based budgeting. Most people don't understand the way state government budgets, but what they do when they propose a new budget is they don't even show you 95% of the budget. They only show you the 5% they're asking for in new money or enhancements, and you don't see their base. And they roll things into that base and hide it from the taxpayers. We finally, after about 6 years of trying, passed a zero-based budget this year. Governor Perdue vetoed that. What I will do as Attorney General is voluntarily submit a zero-based budget so that you, the taxpayers of Georgia, can see where the money is going. And I think when you bring transparency into the budgeting process, you begin to show where the waste, fraud, and abuse is, and you can cut the size and scope of government. And I think you can make that office more efficient simply by showing people where the money is. And in that disclosure and that sunshine, you will find areas that can be trimmed and eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse.
Now, first of all, the 8 years that I chaired Cobb County, we always started with a zero-based budget. It is beyond me that the state doesn't do that. It's beyond me that the public doesn't demand better than what they get. For an agency to simply say, this is what we want in addition, you got to start from zero every year. I don't understand how the legislators ever let that system in place. Cobb County got an A+ as the first government in the state by a group called sunshinereview.org. And they require transparency and accuracy. They look to see what's on your website and that your residents can see everything, the minutes of the meetings, the agendas, the zonings, the budget, what money is spent on. And it's astounding to me that the state is just now starting to do that. There's no excuse for us not having zero base. There's no excuse for not starting every year demonstrating how the money that you give is spent. I would also add that the state has numerous folks that are called SACs, Special Assistant Attorney Generals. There has been no audit to compare how they compare dollars-wise, efficiency-wise. That has to occur.
As a member of the Appropriations Committee in the Senate, one of my roles was the subcommittee chairman over the branch of the judiciary, and also to work on the budget of the Attorney General. So I've actually seen it. I've actually worked in the budget of the Attorney General's office in the Department of Law. I've worked with Thurber Baker in trying to point out ways where he could cut if he would. And at the end of the day, Thurber Baker didn't make those cuts that we were recommending. But the reality is, I do have the experience to step in and say this office can be run more efficiently. I've seen the budget. It won't be on-the-job training for me. I recognize where those savings can be had. And the reality is, in my service in the General Assembly, I have never voted for a tax increase. Never, ever, not once. My commitment to you is that I will maintain that. I will maintain being a champion of the taxpayer in looking for waste, fraud, and abuse and making government smaller, more nimble, and more responsive. The days of big government ought to be over. We've seen what that has brought us in Washington, D.C., and we're paying a terrible price for all this promise of hope and change.
As the subcommittee chair, if you knew where the savings should have occurred, you should have required that they occur then. That the bill not leave the Senate without those savings. As an executive that led a government with 4,500 folks and an over $800 million budget, I think I know how to deal with a budget that's about 52 million people. $52 million. If you know where the savings are, cut them. And that's what the legislature's for. The House starts the budget process, and the House and the Senate need to come together. What is the excuse for not reducing the dollars in prior years? It should have occurred.